So welcome to the Multiboxing Podcast, the only podcast on the world with a name less original than the character names of my WoW's characters. Um, so we'll just start off with introductions, I guess. Mirai and Multidayz probably need less of an introduction. But for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I've been multiboxing on and off since probably Wrath of the Lich King. It wasn't until recently that multiboxing actually came to the forefront of I guess my gaming in World of Warcraft. I actually had quit for a number of years, so 8.3 was the first retail patch I had played since I think like Mists of Pandaria. In Mists of Pandaria, I was rating in like a top US 75 guild. Almost dropped out of college, so completely stepped away from the game. Classic came out. I started multiboxing because I realized I didn't really have time to do any sort of content in Classic. Like dungeons just took forever and I just didn't have the time. And then COVID hit and I just started playing retail, and the rest has kind of been history. 8.3, I kind of learned what borrowed power was, and did eventually get a Mythic plus 10 in time, which was like a pretty nice highlight. Um, and I'm just super stoked for Shadowlands. I don't really stream because in my personal life I'm like always on, and I hate the idea of having like a set schedule and having to be on for streams. But I do try to create some content here and there to promote multiboxing, specifically within PvE. But back in Kata, I did a little bit of PvP.
I like
All
it.
right. Well,
So real quick on that, you went hardcore and you almost dropped out of school.
It was yeah,
yeah,
dude, it
that's
was
pretty
pretty
crazy,
bad.
man.
So I was also like an accounting double major, and I learned that I'm a very analytical person, which is why I thought accounting was like for me. And then it turns out I was just in the wrong major. Like I completely switched majors. Like I quit World of Warcraft in November. I switched my major in January, and then I graduated like a year or two later. Like I wrote like my GPA just like went through the roof. Like I don't think I had anything less than an A after like that semester. So it ended
That's
up being the
awesome.
right thing. I've been playing WoW for like 6 months. No, I've been playing WoW for almost a year now since I came back, and it hasn't ruined my life yet. So we'll see how it plays out.
I wonder how many careers it's destroyed in the process, but also maybe it's helped gain some too. Like it's helped build out the portfolio. I've seen people turn into really good managers apparently from being a guild leader. So
Yeah, no kidding, man.
yeah. All right.
Well,
You want to go, Mariah? Okay, yeah. Sorry.
I can go. I can go. It's not nearly as involved as that. I I don't know how much of an introduction I do need, but for those who are not familiar with myself, I go by the online name Mirai. That's Mirai for those who are only listening. I am the owner slash operator of the Multiboxology channel on YouTube. If you've ever begun multi-boxing, you may have come across some of my instructional videos, especially if you are using ISBoxer. But in addition to that, I just have some general gameplay videos and general talks on there that I do from time to time. Hopefully there'll be more of those in the future. There's long gaps, but definitely more stuff coming for sure. I I don't exactly know what got me into multi-boxing in the sense that I joined the community back in April of 2009. So it's been over 10 years, over 11 years that I've been part of the Dual Dash Boxing Community Forum. And I don't know what got me into it. I just began with Key Clone, then I moved to ISBoxer, and the rest is history as I just built up knowledge and started making videos and sharing guides and all those things. And there were people that came before me that undoubtedly helped me along the way. And so I thought I would just, as those people have moved on, I just kind of took their place, and I've become kind of the guide maker, tech support guy for ISBoxer. As for what I do in game, though, there's a lot of real life stuff that tends to take me away from the game at times, and that's kind of where multi-boxing helps, because you can't really dedicate yourself to like the solo guild schedule that is that tends to be required to push content and whatnot. So multi-boxing has always been has had a draw for that for me, and unfortunately I haven't in all this time have not really gotten a chance to push like bleeding edge content. But these two guys here, they've done a lot more than I have for sure. But hopefully that will turn around come Shadowlands. We've got some plans that hopefully we can execute for Shadowlands. Excited for that. But yeah, I think that's it for me.
I got confidence. I know it's gonna
So
happen.
interesting fun fact. Just because you were talking about what got you into multiboxing. So Multidayz video, back when he went by LA and he had the shaman team, the Ailey's,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
video is like what introduced me to multiboxing. So just a little fun fact, and I'm sure he's gonna start blushing, but
No, yeah, I tried. I don't know.
that was like an
I
amazing video back in the day and totally like introduced me to the play style. And then turns out it wasn't really for me for a number of years, but we're here now.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, so I formerly went by LA. For anybody that's watching that didn't know that, that was my name back in. I don't know why I keep switching. Right, I need to like stick with the name. I think we stuck with the name now, but that was back in vanilla, and then in Burning Crusade, I migrated to the Shamans. I played for them, did really successful in the PvP aspect of that, I guess, as well as PvE. But what got me into multiboxing, I think probably EverQuest was my first introduction to multiboxing. Vinny already played that game. It was really, you could not do anything in that game unless you had a group. And it was one of those things where like, well, how do you solve that issue if I want to play at different times or whatnot, or I can't? And and instead of having to depend on other people, which is still a good facet, right? It builds a community that way too. But that's what really got me into it. So I actually played 2 characters in that game, and then I even bumped it up to 3. And then when I came into World of Warcraft, I played a single character for a couple months, and I realized the game had follow in it. And follow is like the key ingredient typically. We found you can work around that these days, but that was a key ingredient back then. And I saw some guy running around with 2 mages, or he maybe had a priest and a mage, and he was blowing up something in a camp when I was level 50 on a rogue. And then I was like, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do, because I used to do that, and that's what I want to do. And then the rest is history from there. Went from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5. I've never gone past 5. I like the facets or the pieces that 5 brings to the table. So I've stuck it at 5. So played a lot in the beginning. I stopped a little bit after Wrath of the Lich King. I met my lovely wife. You guys may have seen her before, and here she comes by and she says hi in her own unique way. But we ended up having some kids, and kids are good, but kids take up they're unpredictable, right in the very beginning, like the sleep schedule and everything. So my time like really got chopped off. So Kata, Mop, Wad, those expansions, right? I came in and out, fluctuated in and out. I really just didn't have the time that I wanted to dedicate to the game. But since Legion, we're for sure done with kids. Like, we are done. 4 kids done. And since Legion, I've been consistent. And since BFA, honestly, has been my longest and playing it since then in terms of consistency. I've been really enjoying it. I've been streaming for a little over 6 months now. So that's been my thing. And with that, I try to tap into every single facet of multiboxing that you can do in the game. I'm not too good on farming. I'm not too good at playing the auction house, but everything else I do pretty good on. And the goals that I set for myself at the end of BFA, I was able to accomplish to kind of bring back some good memories of peaking on there. So I'm trying to be as humble as possible, but I mean, like, as multiboxing, we were able to knock out a plus 15, which was awesome. You know, as a clouding thing. Like, if you ever, like, someone's like, oh, like, what can you do a multiboxing? Like, well, you can do a plus 15 mythic, which was basically the best loot you could get from that without having to raid. And then also on top of that, the horrific visions that came out in the most recent patch, I was able to fully clear the 5 mask in that, which was awesome as well. So that's the little facets. I like to push it as far as we can go, and I know with more of us out there, and knowing that you can do it in the first place, we're going to get some really good competition in Shadowlands.
Yeah, I'm really excited for newcomers to come along and hopefully play some new stuff. So I feel like you've been kind of leading the way on what comps are really good, and Hunter Trinity has been kind of a thing for like as long as I can remember.
Right, exactly.
I know like 5 Hunters was really popular even back in like, I want to say BC or Wrath, maybe Kata.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for somebody to come in and like play something just totally off the wall and weird, because it's like impossible for us to play more than like 2 or 3 teams and really take it seriously, given how much like time is built into borrowed power. But like, I'd love to see somebody come in and play like a prop paladin and 4 shadow priests or something,
or
just
sure.
some optimal comp. Like, no, I know that there's viable comps out there.
And exactly, I knew that like that was the thing too. It was like, I wish more people did it. Like, I'm kind of reiterating the same thing, but like, there was so much unknown potential Like I feel like with the corruptions and everything, that there were some teams out there that we had no idea could have existed. We just didn't have anybody like collaborating to try them out or even know about them. That could have really probably pushed the envelope.
I feel like I didn't really understand corruption until it was like almost too late, or at least I always perceived that it was too late. I think if I would have actually just like really committed to it on a team that I was really interested in, I think I actually could have probably done some more interesting things. So I'm excited now that I feel like I kind of understand what Blizzard's design is with borrowed power. Hopefully, like when 9.3 or 9.4 comes out and they put in some ridiculous thing like corruption, we can just exploit the hell out of it and do something crazy.
Yeah, like the. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mirai. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say those comps, those crazy comps, were totally a thing in TBC and Wrath, and I don't know. It seems like dungeon design has more or less gone a certain way to where it doesn't really lend itself to these crazy comps. But that's not entirely fair because back in Legion, people were trying to push mythics with like 5 warlocks. So there's potential there.
Yeah.
It's just it comes down to having to first level, in BFA level to 120, and then figure out if this is any good. And that's a real huge turnoff. And now that obviously we've got the level squish, there'll probably be a lot more experimentation now that moving from 1 to 50 and then 50 to 60 shouldn't be like, a gigantic effort. So
you should be able to get a team up in like, I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks. Like you could probably get a team into Mythic Zeros and Shadowlands. Whereas like even in BFA, you're probably looking at like maybe like a few weeks to a month to get to max level. And then you're looking at like a month or two just to like get your Azurite traits and like corruptions and everything else. Like you really had to commit to a team. Yeah, it was way too much.
Oh yeah. It was daunting. It's still daunting right now. I got the Paladins to 50, and I logged them on over the weekend. I was like, this is too much work. I'm just gonna wait till this all. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait till this all goes away. But speaking of those comps, like even back then, like I'm hearing people tell me about comps that existed in Burning Crusade and Wrath that I had no idea even existed. Like so people were telling me Holy Paladins were amazing. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
5 Shakadins?
Yeah, like that comp. But like,
Shakadins?
But I mean, there just wasn't the. I feel like now the communication is so much better. Like in terms of like like everybody's like kind of pooling together and like there's like a central area where it's just combining, and so I think it's gonna be a lot better. And whoever makes the Resto Druid, I was saying that earlier in the IS Boxer chat. Whoever makes a Resto Druid and figures it out is gonna be the best Mythic Plus player ever. So that's the goal out there.
Such a futile challenge. It's like not even one I want to touch.
No.
As somebody who's done like really high level Mythic keys on a Resto Druid, just like absolutely no desire to play Resto Druid in a multi-box.
So if you guys want to do it, yeah.
I think the reason we're seeing like more, like a tighter, a smaller amount of comps, just in addition to the high level and all of the hoops you have to jump through and things you have to equip yourself with before you even can think of becoming viable, is that it's the Mythic key system as well now. Like before, up to Legion, we had just heroics and maybe some challenge modes if that was your thing in Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor. But it's just been heroics, and so there's just been kind of a static level of difficulty, and there's been a lot of, as you continue to outgear heroics, the composition can get a little wacky, and that's a lot of fun and all. But then the Mythic Keystone, that system, as it increases, as everything ramps up in difficulty, those wacky comps, you got to kind of dial it in. If you're not really efficient with those wacky comps, they kind of fall to the wayside, I think, is what we see. So again, anything's possible in Shadowlands, though, with all this rebalancing and covenants and everything involved. So,
no,
that's an interesting point. Go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything follow up there. You're good.
No, I think I was just gonna say like that's a good point, right? Like there was like a natural like hard cap on how difficult PvE content got.
Right.
And from the first patch in TBC, the dungeons never got any more difficult between the last content patch. So along the way, you got all of these like catch-up mechanics like crafting or intermediary dungeons and like Sunwell Plateau islands and stuff. And so you could gear these like I remember 4 Disc Priests in Kata being like the most ridiculous comp ever, and I absolutely leveled one because it was like so gimmicky and like fun. But like if there was a Mythic Plus dungeon, that team never would have succeeded. Mm-hmm. And I actually did try to play that. I did try to play that in Season 4. Realized in heroic dungeons I was getting absolutely nowhere and just immediately abandoned the team.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because you want those fun comps to work though. But at the end of the day,
of course,
it kind of, you're right, it kind of funnels them all into like the more generic things. Where like WoW itself wants you to play a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS. And I think with multiboxing, we've been able to kind of go outside of the box a little bit more than traditional comps, which is really fun, right? Like 4 DPS tank is kind of in a staple, or 4 tanks and a healer are kind of like more staples that we're able to pull off instead, that you typically wouldn't see, which is really awesome, to kind of break the mold even on top of that piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge like risk reward structure to the 4 DPS in a tank that just like feels so good until you get to that one boss that requires a magic dispel,
Yes.
and you're just like, oh, I guess I can't do this
Exactly,
otherwise fun dungeon.
Yeah.
And oh, it's Mythic Plus, so you can't switch your like one of your DPS to a healer for this dungeon.
No,
Yeah,
that
it
was
doesn't feel great, but it's fun otherwise.
Yeah, luckily that was only one dungeon, I think, in that required it in BFA, which was the workshop, Kojo, the dog.
Yeah.
Require, you have to, you can I was able to do him, I think, on a +9, by just basically just face tanking him completely and popping a bubble and everything. But I mean, realistically, you're not supposed to do that. But yeah, if you really wanted to push it, that's a no-go for sure, that you have to have that dispel.
Yeah, or like and even in other spots it just got uncomfortable. Like in Shrine of the Storm, there's that mob right after the first, not right after the first boss. It's like on the way as you cross the bridge towards the second boss. The big elemental guy that puts that like dot that just destroys whatever character goes on. Like that just like feels super bad on a 4 DPS comp, but
Yeah, I never touched that. I did it 1 + 10, and I never touched that dungeon further. I just, for some reason, I avoided it. I'm going to try to not do that in Shadowlands. I want to master every single one, even if it's like a Siege of Borealis. We're going to have to make it work.
I feel like I really enjoyed all the dungeons that were like super gimmicky, and I would say Shrine of the Storm was like one of them. Although I really didn't like the last boss in Shrine of the Storm. Like I really loved Underrot. Like Underrot was probably my favorite dungeon, aside from maybe King's Rust, in BFA.
You liked Underrot with the dude that pops out all the
I love
ticks,
Underrot.
all the ticks. You got to squish
Yeah,
him with
well-
5 characters.
Well, that boss isn't like interesting, but if you save heroism or bloodlust for it, it's totally
Yeah.
trivializes that fight. You basically just kill him before he tantrums,
Right.
and then you can kind of gimmick this third boss as well. But it's like it's just kind of a fun gimmick, and I love the gimmicky fights, versus like I don't know how I would classify other fights. Like Waycrest, I think, was like a really well balanced dungeon for multiboxing,
Oh
but
yeah.
not in a way that it was gimmicky. It was just like, hey, as long as you kind of know what you're doing and can move your characters a little bit, this will probably be fine.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we
So,
lost Mirai there a little bit, so we're gonna
No,
bring
yeah,
it back.
no, that's the thing. I just want to let everyone know. I would put it in chat because of the fact that I haven't pushed any of this content as a multi-boxer. I've just been I'm just been in the stands at this point. I haven't been out in the field, so to speak. So these guys are gonna have to. I warned them they're going to be carrying me through these more technical discussions when recapping some of these mythic strategies and everything. But again, we're hoping to change that moving into Shadowlands. Although it may take just a little bit of time. Got some other stuff planned, but yeah.
Well,
So
that's
there's
the
that,
best
just to let
part.
everyone know.
That's the best part, though. Right now is that like literally anybody watching too, like we're literally starting on a clean slate. Like anything
This
that
is
was
true.
gained, like I like all like I'm like one of my characters. I mean, right now they're at like eye level like 127, which is pretty high like overall as a group. And I mean, as soon as Shadowlands comes out, that means nothing. So, I mean, we're all starting fresh, which is really nice. Like if you like the complete reset, we're all on the same level playing field.
Yeah, and especially with the level squish and the item level, everything has just totally been shrunk down. So everybody's very close by each other now.
Oh yeah, I hope I've mentioned this a couple times. I hope they stick with this style of making the max level 60, and then just like as soon as Shadowlands ends, the next one comes out, bring that down to 50, and then make the new one
It would
60.
be interesting. I can see how people
I don't know. They're gonna
wouldn't like
mess
that
up the
though.
scaling.
They mess up the scaling again, but at least that I like the numbers being small, and I didn't realize I liked them so small until it happened. As well as I've been listening to some Dungeons and Dragons as well, and I currently have the characters in that format stay low level. Like the numbers never get crazy. I don't know. It seems more meaningful when like I was putting a gem on one of my characters before we started here, and it was a +7 haste gem. Like that was like a good number. It wasn't like a big number. I don't know. Legion had it where you went to the millions of your DPS was millions. You know, it just the numbers get kind of they get lost in the translation of it all. But
Well, it makes like DPS numbers feel lighter. Like if you're at 90% of your damage and that's only 100 DPS versus 90% of your damage and that's like 100,000 DPS or 20,000 DPS, it just feels better.
Yeah.
Even if it's really not that, it feels like underperforming is more okay, which normally is a weird thing to say, but in multiboxing, it kind of it
you're
just feels better.
Yeah. If you're pulling 75% of your simulated DPS, you're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. which if you're trying to apply for some mythic guild, they're like, all right, guy, hit the road. But for us, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think this conversation definitely veered off track there.
Yeah.
But I guess like
I'll allow it.
So we're playing around with the format a little bit, discussing things, and I think one thing that I thought would be cool, at least if this was actually going to be kind of tenable for the week-to-week thing, would be to do like a weekly recap and talk about either like anything you want to talk about from either the last week or the upcoming week. So I don't know like if you guys have done anything interesting in the game, or if you have any teams you're leveling that you want to talk about. I put out a video on Death Knights last night, so I don't know. I'll let somebody else start though.
I did not have a chance to watch that yet, but that's in the queue for sure.
I liked your
Super
ranking
low
system.
quality.
No, I liked your ranking system on it though. Like how you gave it numbers.
Yeah, I had a really good idea with that, but the execution was lackluster at best.
I didn't watch the video as well though, but I read the entire synopsis. But I think that's really good to kind of give people an idea of what you're thinking in terms of is this fun? Is this easy? Like what's the potential of this? What can you do with it?
Yeah, I mean, back in like Wrath and Kata, DKs and Paladin was like the meta. Like everybody played that. Like that was like the 5v5 arena meta. You just like controlled from the Paladin. You healed your Death Knights, and your Death Knights just like obliterated everyone, like literally and figuratively. And I think it's strong, but I just haven't really heard people hype it very much. I hear people talk about like 5 Paladins all the time, but I think the Death Knights are more fun. And I think if you're new to multiboxing, I think having fun is like the most important thing.
Oh, for sure.
Without a doubt.
The reason those were you playing Frost on those guys? Did you have 3 of them Frost?
I did, and then I realized that single target was doing the same damage as blood, so I switched to 4 blood.
Well, I saw their tuning was off because their rank 2 obliterate, because you used the word obliterate, that popped that little light bulb, because apparently they get like a rank 2 of it at level like 52, which we're not there yet, and that's where the damage is coming from. So as soon as Shadowlands hit, it should feel a little smoother or cleaner.
Yeah, I really want 2-hand Frost to be good, because if 2-hand Frost is good, then it's gonna feel good. If 2-handed Frost isn't good, then like I don't want to play Unholy, and I don't want to dual wield. So
no, that's the king for multiboxing is burst. It feels like dotting, although everybody's enjoying Warlocks lately, but dotting usually doesn't perform too well in a lot of situations, as our burst does. That's our primary strength though, is we can instantly target something quickly together as a team. And obliterate it.
From a historical standpoint, though, when Mythic Plus was introduced in Legion, the 4 blood and 1 healer comp was, dare I say, king. I think people were pushing the highest keys that they could with either 5 prop paladins or 4 blood DKs with a healer. And I think that it'd be interesting to see that come back. I think that'd be a lot of fun because it's a simple comp. It doesn't take nearly as much, micromanagement and setup and control as your standard Trinity team. And so it can be a whole lot of fun to just plow through things. It wasn't the fastest team, but it got it done. It certainly got it done. So that's maybe we'll see that make a comeback.
No, one thing I pointed out in the video too is that you don't need like any complex healing setup to run the comp. Like you could quite literally have like a default IS box or config with interact with target turned on, and use like click or mouse over macros from the healer. Like it's super easy.
Yeah.
I agree. I can give you guys what I did this weekend or week on here.
Hopefully you don't
Give it
start
to
talking
us.
about plants.
I don't know. Hopefully the wife's not watching. Yeah, she'll come running in here. So I got the paladins to level 50, which was nice. Got that done, and then on Saturday I was able to log in and squeeze some time in, and realize that that there wasn't any value in gearing up the team because we get those in just a couple days here. But today's the 2nd, so on the 10th there's the event that comes out. And there's going to be the loot should be like candy, basically. It should be raining from the skies, I believe, on that front, which is significantly bigger upgrade than even doing like mythics. So I'm going to hold off on that. And then I was thinking about making some more teams, but I realized I haven't done too many mythics plus, and I really enjoy that as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to, at least today and the rest of this, probably this week, is doing some mythic pluses, getting that knocked out. Just staying on the hype train, being excited for this expansion coming up. That's what I'm going for.
Talking about hype train here, I'm trying to. I haven't done anything specifically in game, but I am planning on. I did release a vlog video. I don't know if that's redundant or not, but a vlog video that talked about how I'm planning to do a leveling series. There are a few hurdles that I had to overcome and figure out. We'll talk about those in the introductory video, but hopefully that's what I've been planning in the past week, along with many other things that I've been working on. And this next week coming up is when we should begin recording that. So I've got a new camera coming sometime this week, but we'll get that installed and start doing my leveling series. And hopefully we'll see some of those videos soon enough. I don't know if we'll see anything drop next week specifically, but soon enough. Yeah. So that's, but I guess, I guess I'll throw this out here as well. There's a bunch of G14 classified stuff that I'm working on in the back scene for, with some other people for the community. So hopefully we can, I really can't say much about
It's
that
good
right
stuff.
now. It's
Yeah,
good
it
stuff,
sounds
though, for
good.
sure,
It sounds
but,
good.
Very good stuff.
Well, we'll see what gets delivered and what doesn't. So that's all I'll say about that. Is because it sounds like I'm like doing nothing. Like, what are you doing over there, Mirai? You're not. What's holding you up and all this? Well, there's a whole bunch of other like work I'm doing. So
You've been playing the IS Boxer game though, which is basically like half the multiboxing game.
Well, yeah. In addition, setting up for man, I'm working on the super duper profile. That's kind of on hold at the moment. There's some other higher priority items, but the super duper profile, hopefully we'll make a debut sometime, maybe near the end of the year, hopefully somewhere around there. I don't know. There's a lot of work, Stefan. There's too much stuff to do, and there's just not enough time in a day. I'll tell you that much.
It's a good thing to have though. I like that dilemma, right?
This is true.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I want to do this and this and this, but I can't. It's better than like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, what do I do? I'm not even sure what to do. So no, there's plenty to do. Plenty to do.
Yeah.
So this actually segues really well into the current event segment. And so I wanted to talk about the Shadowlands pre-event that's coming out on the 10th, which is a week from Tuesday. And I agree with you. It feels like we're in a little bit of a purgatory right now, right? It takes like 10 to 20 hours to level a team. And then everything, like all your time spent on that team, I'm sorry, is like a complete waste of time. So coming in the Shadowlands pre-event, there's going to be daily quests. There's going to be 20 elites in the Ice Crown zone that rotate on a 20-minute timer, and they each drop eye level 100 gear. And then you're going to earn Argent commendations that you can turn in for eye level 100 gear. And to give you perspective on what eye level 100 gear is, Mythic 0 right now gives 85. I believe Mythic +2 is 90.
I was just going to ask you that. Where does it fall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's like Mythic probably 4 or 6.
That's
Which
not bad at all.
it's really good, like, right? Because I'm trying to think, like, in order for me to gear a team to eye level 100, I'm probably gonna spend at least another 10 or 20 hours in game.
Oh yeah.
I would think at this point,
Oh,
yeah,
at
easily.
least.
And
Yeah.
like that doesn't even count Azurite gear or like the neck or the legendary cloak. Like, yeah, I think we're just at the point where if you want to get those things, if you haven't done them, go for it. But if you're just leveling up teams, like your time is much better spent just leveling more stuff up. It just feels like it feels really bad. Like it feels like we're in purgatory.
It's the perfect time to level a team instead, because I mean, I guess you just log on right now, you get that 16% EXP bonus too as the anniversary buff.
Yeah, I forgot that came out today
Or
or yesterday.
Yeah, and so you got to go to the mailbox, get it out of your mail, and then click the buff after you loot it out of a package, and then it looks like it stays on permanently. And it's also a rep buff too. But I mean, I think that's going to last probably a month or at least or something like that. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work though in Shadowlands. I'm assuming it disables. I can't imagine they'd speed that process up.
Probably, yeah, probably.
It's probably a safe assumption. Although I haven't really heard anything about Shadowlands leveling in a while. So I remember like I don't know, like a month ago they were talking about how like Shadowlands leveling was kind of busted and it took like way too long to get to max level, and there was like points where you wouldn't have quests. Like it was back to vanilla WoW where you had to like grind mobs to like get that little extra bit to go to the next zone.
Oh man.
It's funny you say that because Mike Preach Gaming YouTube
yeah, that's
guy.
what you referenced.
Yeah, he just came out with a video just a few days ago talking about that it feels so much better now. Everything feels really dialed in. The only place where he fell a little behind was right in Bastion. You have to hit level 54, or it was 53 or 54 before the campaign would continue on. And there was nothing to tell him to let him know that you needed to hit that before he would get more quests. But he didn't. He said that there wasn't unnecessary grinding. He didn't say that there was any, and this was out of war mode as well. So he did this out of war mode. And there was no unnecessary grinding, no need to do any dungeons along the way. And he definitely did not do every single quest in the zones except for the zone where he knew already, because he's been doing this a lot and he's been doing a ton of research on this, where he knew he was going to pick the Covenant. And he suggested that if you know where which Covenant you're going to pick, do your best to kind of clear out that zone of all the quests when you're leveling up, so that once you hit max level and you have to start those activities for your Covenant and your quest lines throughout there, that you don't have to then redo quests that you probably could have been doing or should have been doing while you were leveling to make things a little bit faster. So yeah, they sound like they're pretty good from the leveling perspective.
Zoc, did you play beta at all?
I did. I've only leveled to 54, so I've played Bastion.
Okay.
I've done a few dungeons.
Is it linear in terms of they tell you to go to Bastion first and then you go to the next spot, or do you get to choose?
It is, and that's a little concerning to me.
Okay, so everybody's going to basically dogpile into the same place on there.
that's my concern. Yeah, that's you're 100% on the money. That's my concern. But though I really like kind of the base concept. I like that each zone. So there's like 4 main leveling zones. Each zone is its own Covenant, and within that zone, you level up with the specific Covenant ability in that zone. So you kind of get a chance to play it out, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm hoping that leveling doesn't feel awkward, but I mean, to like what Mirai literally just said, like my concern with like leveling and stuff is that if they don't tell you, like they just don't tell you things like, oh, you have to be level 54 before you move on. That's not something they tell you, but it kind of reminds me of like Chromie time and like some of the stuff around that, where it's like if you're not paying attention or if you don't do it in the exact right order, it just feels kind of clunky. It's like a clunky experience. Once you know, but when you're trying to figure it out, it's like super frustrating.
And that does become an issue for multiboxing too, because I've noticed when we try to take somebody else's leveling guide, because we're in a group of 5, the regular trash mob experience is a little bit less. So typically, if we do the same thing a regular solo player does, we're going to be a little bit lower on the EXP curve. Like if they're at 54, we'll be at 53.5 or something like that. So it'll be much more apparent for our style, I think, in that regard.
That's a good point. I actually hadn't considered that.
So we might be getting hit with those stopgaps a little bit more. But the good quality of life, though, I'm looking forward to is once you get that first team over the hump and get them to 60, then you get to choose the I'm drawing a blank on what they actually phrased it, but basically like open world content. You just get to go wherever you want then.
Yeah, I forget what it's called as well. And again, coming back to the Preach video, he mentioned that that's currently broken. So interesting. We're only a few weeks away from this needing to work, but Yeah, it is interesting for sure. I'm still not entirely clear what that's going to be like if you're unlocking end game content and you're picking your covenant, and then maybe it's just I should have probably played through a beta a little bit more to understand this a little bit more. But I don't. I mean, I guess I don't understand because this is the first expansion we've ever had the opportunity to do this in, and
My
covenants are so deeply rooted in this, and so it's yeah.
my best guess is that it unlocks like the daily quests, and so you could, in theory, level a team through like they don't have emissaries in Shadowlands, but they do have like daily quests. So
Right, right.
my thought is that you would do daily quests and other things that kind of go along with it, right? Because unfortunately, we're just at the point in the game where the game doesn't begin until max level, and at max level, they just throw a huge wall of content at you, including quests. Like it used to not be like that.
Yeah.
Like they'd give you like one dinky leveling zone that you would hit max level in, and then you'd have the rest of the zone to finish out if you wanted to. Now it's like, oh, you hit max level? Well, here's an entire zone full of like 200 quests. Have fun, nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it takes from what I hear from a solo player perspective, just not speed leveling, but it should take somewhere between 8 to 10 hours to hit level 60. I'm wondering, when you lock yourself to jumping to end game content with a level 50, and it's just daily quests, are you just relegated to just grinding dungeons, or I mean, I guess the standard. See, that's where I'm a little confused. Is that if you're going to jump to end game, does that kill the campaign quests along the way? Do they just go away, or are you able to kind of walk through the campaign quest again while doing the dailies at the same point in time and gaining that rep and gaining that renown? Maybe, maybe that's exactly what it
These are
is.
all great questions that I'm sure
Yeah.
Blizzard hasn't answered.
Well, I'm not envious of them at the moment on during this crunch time. It's got to be insane pressure
No,
to get this all
it's got to
done.
feel terrible.
But there is also Torghast for us too, though, coming up, and that kind of brings
Keep
back
forgetting about Torghast.
that,
Yeah.
and it's also going to be a requirement because that's how you're getting your legendary, or making your
It's
legendary
also a
items.
requirement for the Maw as well. So.
Yeah, yeah, but it brings it back to where the thing that you were mentioning before about the old school multi-boxing where you could have crazy comps because there's no time limit in that place, so you can do, really
That's
unique
true.
comps, and you can still have fun and progress as well. So for people that like to do that kind of thing, that quality of life is coming back too, I think.
There's also no like barrier to entry where like so the worst part of Visions for me personally was that there was a consequence to messing up, and it didn't feel good when I messed up. And so I had like ladder anxiety going into every freaking vision.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh man, I hope I don't screw up in the first mob because otherwise I just wasted half an hour of dailies.
Oh,
Exactly.
exactly. I
So
know
I'm
my,
really
my heart was
happy that you
going.
can just go into Torghast and just do whatever the heck you want.
That's what I was
Um,
exactly excited about. The exact same thing. My very first plus 10 key that I did in BFA, like I almost felt like I couldn't finish because my heart was beating so hard because I was so stressed about like not wasting the key, trying to complete it in time and everything. And the same thing going with like you said with the visions too. But so Torghast is going to be a huge breath of fresh air where if you don't even feel confident, you can just pull a pack, destroy them with your cooldowns, wait for your cooldowns to come back up, and then go on. You can take your own time. You can even go grab a food or whatever or anything like that. You can. It's not dependent on that, which is really nice.
well, and you get fun little buffs along the way too.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't have to wait for cooldowns because your cooldowns are up every 10 seconds or something goofy.
Yeah. I wonder how that's going to work with that. You'll have to be very aware, I guess, of what you're picking on your guys to make sure that it meshes well. You don't want something that lets you like teleport all over the room or something like that.
So it's a whole new level of theory crafting and
Yes.
figuring out what combinations work best to help you push through at your own pace. But I'm sure that as time goes on, people will, have races and times, turn on the stopwatch in game
Oh yeah.
and see how fast and how high you can get in the floors and how fast you can do it. So I don't know if that really truly lends itself to a real type of like a leaderboard of sorts where, because it's random, because it's procedurally generated. So
Right,
if
it's
someone gets
tougher.
bad floors, it's like, well, this guy got lucky and you didn't. So who knows? But I'm sure that will be, there'll be all kinds of discussions about that from a multi-boxing standpoint. And like you say, it's you walk in, you do it at your own pace. It's easy at first, and it ramps up from there. And very similar to the way that Mythic Keystones work, except probably a little bit easier at the ground levels for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited
I
about
also
that. Yeah, about that the procedurally generated content. I think in terms of like the rooms are always going to be different too. We've never had that before.
Yeah, yeah.
I really love Diablo, so
Yes, same. And Diablo is a good multi-boxing game if anybody's never tried it. It's also very fun.
It is. It is.
I also the last thing I wanted to say on Torghast, the one thing I like truly love about it too is that you don't have to start from level 1 every time. So once you
That
clear
is
the
nice.
first 6
Good.
levels, you just enter level 7 the next week.
Wow. Okay.
So like, and visions, oh my god, like a full clear on visions took like 20 to 40 minutes depending.
Oh yeah.
Anxiety central,
super
man.
The worst.
Yeah. No,
LA's videos on visions, man. No, thank you. On multi-boxing visions, I was like, man, congratulations,
no,
but man, I would have been going crazy.
I did one off stream because I wanted to see how hard they were because people kept. I see comments on forums, not specifically multi-boxing, but they were basically saying like their demon hunter used to be super overpowered and they could just run through while basically like eating Cheerios or something, right? But now. They're like, oh my god, I did like a 4 mask and like I died on the first pack, and I was like, well, demon hunters got nerfed a little bit. They're not super OP anymore, and I mean they changed it. So I went and I did my druids, and I did a 4 mask, and I also had the worst affix we had in there. If you never experienced it, was split personality. Absolutely awful.
Still gives me nightmares.
It's one of those
if it was
things.
split personality, I didn't do it.
Yeah,
Even from a solo standpoint,
no,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had that, and I did a 4 mask. I actually completed it, which I was really happy with. Druids, by the way, if you're winning on the comp, that's probably going to be your safest bet going into Shadowlands, I think, in terms of like versatility. They just very versatile class. But I was happy I finished it. But yeah, it was a split personality week, and that's just one of those affixes. I hope we don't see more of that kind of stuff. But
I think that was the
never know.
craziest part of your 5 mask is that you did it on that week, because
yeah,
like they all timed, like wasn't it that they all timed up too, until one of them got stunned, and then if the one of them got stunned, then it reset the timer on
No,
that
y-
character.
if-
So you basically did not mess up, right?
yeah. If one of the characters died, yeah, then they would go on their own timer. Wait, actually, split personality was completely random from the get go. The other one, the one where basically it creates a fear bomb on that person and causes you to run away. That's the one where if that gets offset, the best thing to do if that happens when you're multiboxing is literally run out of that zone, that section, and then run back in to reset that. But the split personality fires off on all intervals. So the realistic way to beat that one though was you basically had to treat your characters as almost a turret. You know, mobilize in a spot and then take your tank, grab some mobs, come back to that spot, and then blast them while your other team doesn't move. But you can't do that if you have both that affix plus the fear bomb affix at the same time. Yeah, it just
especially with melee. Jeez.
yeah. No, the melee is
Oh
melee
my god.
is no go.
So for my Death Knights, I had a Death Knight team that I was running Mythic Plus in this season. And for my Death Knight team, I just did them solo just to guarantee that I would get to rank 12, and I'm like, I'm just done with these. I'm like, this is not enjoyable. Like it's blood Death Knights, so they're not doing like any damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it was just terrible experience.
And then you get what made it compounded even harder for multiboxing is I don't even know what you call those guys, but the horrific guys that would spawn the blue circles underneath your feet, that would kind of show like the shadow bomb on you.
Yeah, they one shot you in a 5-man.
Right, yeah, well, because it's compounded because he throws out 5 of the orbs instead of 1 of the orbs, and your team is all stacked together. So if it even hits a little bit, like your whole team just gets instantly blown up. It was is interesting. So it made it really
interesting.
It made it so much more enjoyable to complete that though. I mean that's the fun part of all of it is like. And I haven't looked at it though, but I know this is the way it went on the dual boxing forums where we have like 8 pages right of conversation, and it starts off with like this is the worst thing ever, like you can't even finish, you can't even clear it, and then all of a sudden like somebody clears it, and it wasn't just me, we had other people clear it too, right? And then all of a sudden like oh you can clear it, but you can't do a mask, and it's like oh we did a mask, and then you keep building up, so it was like this thing where it gradually grew into actually conquering that content as opposed to it being completely not doable, whereas you played solo, you never experienced that kind of
yeah, exactly.
So for better or worse, it worked out for us.
We see that in a lot of things as well, just like when it comes to dungeons, and some of the dungeons in Shadowlands look interesting. We'll use your word of interesting again. So we'll see. It's probably going to be a wipe fest at first, but even looking back at something like Siege of Borealis from the Alliance side, because both factions had a different Siege of Borealis to play through.
Yeah.
And so from the Alliance side, that end boss was a hell of a boss, and like that was a total showstopper for most multi-boxers going into Siege. Like it's the dead key kind of on the spot. Unless you really know, you could just power through that. But you had people that were. This won't be the last time I mention this guy, but of course, Sir Scruffington.
Yeah. I was thinking that. Yeah.
Plowing through and pioneering, man. He would spend hours on his streams. It would be like a 3-hour, nothing but the final boss of
I
Siege
think
of
3
Borealis.
is understated, man.
Man.
I think his Mechagon video was like
he
8
would
hours
do it.
long.
Oh my gosh.
He did it. He did it. It was amazing. It was just, I mean, that is some definite determination there, more than I would have for sure.
I do remember watching that video of the highlights or whatever, where he was on like wipe 257 or something on the last guy in Mechagon. I was like, oh my god. But the best part was though, is I didn't have to figure out the strat. So when I went to that boss, I was like, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, thank you. Finally.
Or like I would watch a video of his after I did the dungeon, and then I'd been like, wait, I could have done it that way? Like the last boss of Torghast, where you can just like do the star formation and then just like everybody moves like the same amount to avoid the blast. I was like, are you kidding me? Like it just totally, I mean, it's still a shitty fight, but it kind of trivialized it to some degree.
Yeah, and that's what's going to cause us to succeed though overall as a multi-boxing group, is that like there's so many situations where you probably looked at like what I did for strats, you're like that's completely wrong. Like what is he doing that for? Like a one that people give me a hard time on is in Temple of Sithralis, the third boss, Galvs I'm gonna call him or whatnot. You're supposed to throw him in the corner, and then you don't have to worry about like the pillars and everything like that. I'm like, that's not what I do though. But like everybody says it's easier. There's things like that where we can learn from each other, and it's gonna keep pushing us higher.
So interesting you bring that up, because I don't agree that it's easier. I mean, it is. I think it is to some degree easier, right? Like it's just I guess I can't argue that it's easier or that it's not easier.
Yeah.
But when you actually have to move your characters and get in the way of it, you actually have to pay attention to it.
Right.
And I feel as though if I wasn't paying attention to it, then I would totally like end up in the scenario where like one character was just a little bit out of position, and then next thing I know, my group's just getting blown up. It's just more of a fun fight if you're actually doing the mechanic.
Yeah, no, it is good too. And at the same time, I haven't touched him since pre-patch, but I've heard that he's super.
He does
overtuned.
a ton of damage.
Yeah, he's super overtuned at the moment, so there's no room for error right now.
I did an 8 this week, and I almost did it like +3, which is insane. Like I usually don't do that well in that dungeon, but yeah, I had like 2 hunters die on that fight. Like
wow,
just completely, the damage was just way overtuned.
Huh. With the other one that got super overtuned out of nowhere is one of our favorite dungeons, Freehold. The last boss, his saber slash thing where he throws out the 3 little like swirly wind things that come out. Anyways, apparently at higher keys they one-shot you now. You have to get way up there, but I mean, even when I did it at like a 12 or whatnot, it was a 40% chunk on your hit points, and it's one of those things where multi-boxing is kind of unrealistic to dodge. So the squish did a lot of interesting dynamic changes on there. But I'm excited to see what Shadowlands throws at us. I did look at a lot of the mechanics, by the way, and I think we'll be okay. And it's one of those things where we're already dealing.
I think so too.
We're already dealing with crazy mechanics in the first place, and that's what helped me like think they weren't too bad, because some of the fights that we already do, there's a lot of stuff going on anyways, or puddles to get out of, and we do okay. So, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, just I know there's people who are questioning that as well. Moving into this, it's always the reset. You go into the new expansion, new dungeons, new mechanics, new strategies, all these things that no one knows. There's nothing for multi-boxers out there. We're going to struggle without a doubt, and it will get easier as time goes on. But I will say that this happens every single expansion, really. Yeah. I mean, I can think all the way back to Cataclysm, because Wrath was super easy. Doing Wrath heroics, we would just speed through them, and then Cataclysm came along, and there was a real high, very large increase in the tuning, the damage, the difficulty across the board for Cataclysm heroics and whatnot. And people just learned how to do them. The positioning, the movement, it forced people to grow and get better. And every single time, I don't remember the beginning of Mr. Pandaria from a multiboxing standpoint, but I do remember Warlords of Draenor being more difficult as well. People multi-boxed those. Moving into Legion, those were difficult at first. We pushed through those, even with the Mythic Keystone being introduced, that system being introduced in Legion. Again, looking at Mythic Dungeons, people were like, I was just, +3 is like the best we can do. We're never going to get any higher. And lo and behold, by the end of the expansion, with item level increases, expertise, knowledge, all of those things combined, people are doing +15s. And again, whether they're in time or not, I don't remember. I don't think they were. And we're seeing the same thing in BFA, looking at Siege of Borealis, looking at other difficult encounters throughout the dungeons that were probably very, very difficult in 8.0 and 8.1, and as time has gone on, and I'm not even including the corruptions, and forget the corruptions. It's just the raw item level increase as you just gain the power throughout the expansion.
Yeah.
There's kind of I don't want to go off too much on a tangent here, but there's kind of a trade-off. It's like you play in the beginning and things are really hard. Without a doubt, we're not going to be pushing very high in terms of keys and whatnot, or maybe we will. Maybe it'll be a completely different experience for the third expansion now in a row that with the Mythic Keystone dungeons. But it's like some people wait to the very end of the expansion and then they jump in, but there's a ton of stuff to catch up on and a ton of stuff you may be missing. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's like play from the beginning and deal with every patch's chunk of content as you move through. Something like getting flying, people showing back up here at the end of 8.3 and they're like, I got to get flying, and you need all the reputations that you would have just been naturally gaining over the course of an expansion. So anyone who's thinking I don't want to play it first or it's a little difficult, maybe drop that back to being casual as opposed to just trying to push crazy Mythic Keystone dungeons and let the masochists do that instead, and just watch from afar until you get more item level, until more strategies kind of unfold and we get a good grasp on how everything should be played out. And we're only going to have people are going to have one team going into these dungeons. Give it some time, people are going to be leveling new teams, new comps, switching out characters and classes. There's there's a lot. It's exciting. It's just throughout the entire expansion. There's a whole roadmap of things to just look forward to that just naturally unfolds throughout the expansion. And that's what's always exciting for me. That's just to kind of, even if I'm not in it, which I haven't been in it, it's exciting to just watch as people progress throughout all of it. But again, hopefully I'll be there kind of in parallel with you guys. Hopefully, we'll see.
I think so.
Old man Mirai's getting called out lately, I've been noticing, and they're like, does he even multi-box? It's like, listen, hold on, soon, okay, soon.
Oh, I think the comp has also changed pretty much. Like the dominant comps have changed a lot on every single expansion. So whatever we're used to now is not going to be it. And and whoever's watching as well, like you could be the person that ends up making that dominant comp.
Please be the person.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, covenants and conduits and all these things,
and legendaries too. Yeah,
and legendaries, all this combination of things that are. I have a difficult time believing that they have properly balanced all of these things. So we'll see what falls through and what they don't necessarily fix, and we'll figure out potentially or essentially what is the flavor of the patch, and maybe as long as flavor of the expansion. It's always generally been, a strong tank that you're competent with, a strong healer that you're competent with, and then 3 hunters. I'm not a huge fan of hunters myself as just a class to play, but if I'm forced to play hunters, if I'm shoehorned into that those roles, those classes, so be it. I'll play them. But if there's something else that I find more fun overall, but I'm gonna have to compete because I'm tired. I'm a little tired of LA just owning everything around here.
Not always.
Give him a run for his money here.
No, we're
well,
gonna
too.
see.
Multidayz. We were talking about this maybe like a few weeks or a few months ago. Like, I feel like a lot of us play the Hunter Trinity because we know it's going to be the best. Like, it's just the meta,
Right.
and it's just like it's the most built for it.
Yeah.
But
It's
like,
the
I don't
safest.
think any of us actually enjoy it. Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
boring. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun to do well, but
No, that is a rough aspect too. I think I would enjoy that team way more. And I've said this a couple times. If you could PvP with it, but it's just not PvP viable. And I love the PvP aspect of things. But yeah, it's very. I don't know what it is, but you're right. There's something about it. Like when you get in the groove of it, you've mastered that comp. It doesn't do a lot for you for some reason. But that's also why I've tried to mix up the teams too, because I feel like I probably could have pushed maybe higher than a 15 if all I did was exclusively play that team, right? We could have pushed up, and
Yeah.
especially right now with the pre-patch. The pre-patch, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a plus 34 was actually completed
Good Lord.
on there, and a plus 33 was done in time, obviously, to get the 34, I suppose. But then that was accomplished because there's this stat squish, and you lost corruptions, but our secondary stats are still absolute bananas right now for our eye level, as well as the Azurite traits are still compounding that with some classes.
Yeah,
So
I mean, people are pugging like high 20s
yeah,
now, like Mythic Plus. Like, it's
right.
crazy. Like, I've been going in with some people on like my Warlock solo character, and just like 15s are just nothing. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like we just walk in and it's just nothing. Whereas before it was like, okay, you kind of have to actually pay attention to what's
Yep.
going on. We can't miss interrupts, etc. Now it's just like we just blow through it. It's just a huge joke. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't really been that interested in pushing the content, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably see like a 2 to 4 key increase
Oh yeah, I did that
based
test
on
on
nothing.
the Trinity comp. I did one dungeon. I did a 13, which was Wakecrest, which is one of our stronger ones. But my hunters tore through it like it was butter. It was they're way overtuned right now. So if somebody already had that team geared out and they were pushing, I feel like, yeah, you're right. 2 to 4 keys higher than a 15. You're looking at potentially like a 19 or something that somebody could do if the stars
Yeah.
aligned. But with us, stars have to align. You have to get the right affixes. It's got to be the right week. Like, there's so many things, and you have to get the right key. Because for us, there's a lot of dead keys as opposed to solo players on that front.
Well, that's why I'm hoping to see a return of like either like the 4 tank and healer or 5 tank composition, because they're obviously so much easier to play. It's so much more relaxing. It's going to give you like an opportunity to just jump off of if you're trying to do the Trinity setup. Like personally, I think that Trinity setup should probably always exceed the all tank, because you're absorbing the mechanics, you're ignoring the mechanics, you're doing low
Yep.
DPS, and you're probably not going to be timing things after a certain point. So there is a ceiling to it. I just wish the ceiling was a little bit higher. And then of course those who want to put in the extra effort go Trinity, whether it's hunters or not. Regardless whether I don't think hunters are the most absolute fun in the game, they're a very versatile class. I mean, I like classes with a lot of utility. They have a lot of utility to them, so that is always really nice to see. But I think that if someone's willing to dump the time and the effort into the Trinity team, that it should definitely push beyond what an all tank team. But again, I'd like to see it come back. Whereas that was the reverse back in Legion, where Trinity teams were like capping out at like 7s and 8s, and people with all tank teams were just pushing beyond 10 very easily. And it was so interesting to see. And then BFA flipped that on its head, and we'll see what Shadowlands brings. I mean, there's only a few weeks away, and then it's all interesting, super exciting. I don't mean to shovel too much coal into the hype train right at this point. I mean, yes, sure, let's shovel the coal in. It's clean coal, definitely. But I don't know. I'm just excited to see how things. It's always so exciting at the beginning of an expansion that you just see how things unfold, the natural ebb and flow of everything. So
Yeah, it won't be super apparent either. I'm not sure if we touched on it, but like just to reiterate, the multi-boxing meta takes a while to evolve, like way longer than your typical meta of like whatever normal comps are. Like we kind of have to figure out and see a lay of the land of what works for them and then what works for us. And then evolve off of that one.
We even have more work this time around because covenants are involved, the conduit system, all of that, and the legendaries on how it's all going to come together. So many pieces to a puzzle that's going to keep people theory crafting, which is always a fun thing to do. It's always fun to theory craft on that side. And again, it's exciting and frustrating, but first of all, welcome to multiboxing, and hope you just hang out for the long run for sure, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable play style. You have never tried it. It's addictive. Can't play solo anymore.
It certainly is. Yeah.
It's ruined me.
If Blizzard nixed multiboxing in some way, man, I'm not going to be like that guy. I'd be like, I would just abandon everything. But it would really be, just multiboxing itself is just, I don't know what it is. It's become part of the game for me now. And I play solo without a doubt, and I enjoy that. But then I always want to jump onto multiboxing. I always want that I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a relaxing time. Again, I'm not doing Mythic plus Keystones at a high level, so there's tons of time to relax. But once we'll see how much anxiety I'm willing
No,
to take on when I'm trying to push through Mythic Keystones here in Shadowlands. But
yeah,
anything's
it is though. You put that there's no pressure besides the pressure you put on yourself, right? Like you don't have to worry about your teammates getting mad if you messed up. You wipe. You're like, you can't really get mad at your teammates when it's you. So it helps in that front. Yeah. We got anything else on the list, Zach? How we looking?
I think the only other thing that I wanted to rant about, and then we can probably just shut the heck up, is the Shadowlands release date that was announced for like
Yeah.
the Monday night before Thanksgiving, as if like no one has a family, especially not their own developers.
Yeah.
I feel like it
Such
was
a
just a
certain
huge mistake. And so I've been like playing solo content and like kind of getting a little bit back into raiding on like a 2-day a week schedule. And like in order for me to like make that a reality, I have to do like all the Mythic Zero dungeons that first week. So I have to get to level 60. I have to do Thanksgiving, which we're hosting, and then I have to do every Mythic Zero dungeon, and then I have to do it the following week. And then I probably have to figure out how to raid in Christmas week, which like I with COVID, but like I don't know. I'm just completely thinking about walking away from it in its entirety, because it just doesn't seem like it's going to be worth it.
I listened to a different WoW podcast as well, and interesting they were talking about in the high level things is that the way this is timing itself, you're probably only going to see maybe 5 guilds beat the first Mythic raid before Christmas because of how the holidays are
and
working.
no one's going to do it the week of, or I mean, yeah, I just can't see. I know those guys don't have much of a I know that gaming is kind of like in their wheelhouse and like what they focus on, but like I still think plenty of those guilds in like the top 10 aren't going to like be missing because I think Christmas falls on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday this year as well. I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's super bad.
It's easy to take time off of work to do some world first raiding, but when you got to tell the family, be like, sorry, I have to go play this game. I mean, unless it's like your actual job, then it's kind of understandable. It's weird still to think about it that way, but it is some people's actual job there at the very top end. So it's possible that they have to do that, but again, not many people at that top end have that opportunity, and so I wholeheartedly agree that there's just not going to be. I don't know how exciting that the world first race is. You're going to see the same names that you've always seen, and but we'll definitely see how it affects right here by Christmas and by Thanksgiving, and all of this with all. I keep driving this home, but all the covenants and all the systems you need to jump through that all we need to as multi-boxers more so than solo players, but solo players, because of this power being locked behind covenants, there've been talk about world first raiders having to now multi-box these covenants to level up 4 paladins in each covenant, and so to level them up together and play
that's
them
kind of fun
from their own perspective. Of trying
they're coming into our realm.
Raiding. Yeah, right.
Welcome to our world, guys.
That's very interesting. It's 3 weeks away. I don't, I really thought when they delayed it that this was actually going to be either like a December release and then push into January to see the Mythic stuff start up, because
that's what I would have liked to have seen. I think that would have been the best case scenario.
With Christmas and New Year's is like what?
One other thing they did too, which is kind of really weird, is Naxxramas and Classic comes out at the same time.
Yeah, that too, and Cyberpunk for outside of the World War. There's Cyberpunk is coming out mid-December as well. It's like, geez, man, what? Holy.
And unless that game's multi-boxable, it's a dead game.
Yeah, because we make up such a large percentage of players.
Exactly. They really care. Yeah. but literally, the risk they took by delaying the game, they should have spent more time than an extra month for sure. For how much of a hit they took by doing that, it's interesting. And I think at that point, like nobody wouldn't have been. No, I think people wouldn't be upset if it was December, or even January.
I think people would have been happy. It would have been less stress. Like there's enough going on with the holidays.
Yeah, the people that have all kinds of time to level. I don't, I guess, we have a different perspective. I'm not a hardcore player, but, I wouldn't have minded more time to level for sure. That's why I'm a little rushed with my own leveling series here now that it's only 3 weeks out and I have to get, again, stuff in the background done, as well as a leveling series at the same point in time, and make it somewhat interesting in a 3-week period. We'll see if I can deliver. But I was like relieved. I was like, there was this delay in the release date, and I was like, oh, thank God, because everyone, like all the people who are doing videos, all the content creators are talking about, like, they're not dogging on the game. They're trying not to dog on the game, but there's so many small things that are just like, is this is in a good state? This is not in a good state. And the way that they're reporting these things, the Maw is like, again, coming back to things that Mike Preach says, the Maw, he was just like, there's really nothing in the Maw right now. What's going to happen in the, there's still like a bunch of, there's still a bunch of just stuff that seems kind of unfinished, and leveling seems good, but the rest of it beyond that, who knows? Blizzard is always a few builds internally ahead of everything. So maybe they got it under control. Maybe they were like searching for a bug that was breaking things somewhere along the way. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm hoping to see, man, I don't know. I hate to say that this, it kind of reeks of corporate, but it's unfortunate, because you have to think also, there's never really been a delay like this other than the Burning Crusade, which did get pushed back to the next year that it was supposed to come out. And of course, when they sell these expansions, when they do the pre-release, the pre-order, there's always tacked on there for whatever department it is that for Blizzard, they always say will release on or before December 31st, 2020.
Oh, that's
true. And so maybe they actually have to keep to that date. But then again, they still could have kept to that date had they pushed it back to even December. I don't know. Maybe they were working around the Cyberpunk, thing as well, because Cyberpunk got delayed, and then all of a sudden Shadowlands is like, oh well, November 23rd it is, and it just seems wild. It just seems rushed. It seems, but who knows? We'll see it in 3 weeks, and we'll be able to judge then, and we'll see how many hot fixes and how many 0-day patches get rolled out, and those patches in that first week. We'll see. And I feel bad for the developers for sure. I'm one of the people who is more than willing to wait for a little bit of time. And I know there's people who aren't, but if Blizzard's listening, I know they're watching our Multiboxing podcast. But Ian and the team, you guys could have held out. We're with you, man.
Yeah, they're out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that them releasing it early is like what people don't want. Oh, this must mean it's the end.
Somebody, who is it? Wootenblatz? I think Wootenblatz wanted the hat again.
Everybody wanted the hat.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
That's gonna be a trademark. You did it.
See, this is the problem. It's like the funny inside joke, and then when someone shows up new, they're like, "Are you even from the South?" It's like, no, I'm not.
You still got snow up there right now? Is it snowing?
It snowed yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, but it didn't stick or anything. No.
Okay.
It's supposed to be back up into the 60s sometime this week.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Back. We'll get a chance to hit the pool up one more time before it freezes over.
The heated pool.
Yeah.
This is good though. I'm happy.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to give it. We're gonna have to get a name though. Maybe they can vote on the forums, right? What they want to call it, or what we want to call it.
Well, as Mirai pointed out, if we change the name to something else, then someone else might take the name, the Multiboxing Podcast, and it's ours.
This is official. True. This is official here, right now. Officiated, us three and the audience all together. Stamp of approval. Boom.
So I guess some closing remarks. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that the goal of the podcast, just on the chat, the goal is we're gonna have this weekly, with a hypothetical time of 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is -5, right? -5 GMT or -4.
5.
Forget it. It just changed. It just changed.
It just changed daylight savings.
Yeah, it's
It's on the post. There's
on the post.
There's a sticky post on the Dual Dash Boxing forums.
We did the math.
Yeah. There's a post on the general WoW discussion forums there. That's a sticky thread at the top. So you'll see this as the Multiboxing Podcast.
Yeah.
And just coming back to the name, it does help just kind of like for visibility, because like I get it. There's not really. I'm not sure there's anyone else who's doing a Multiboxing Podcast. But if people search, just simply Multiboxing Podcast.
Oh, that's
as generic
perfect.
of the name is,
Yeah,
I mean, it's this will show up.
Yeah. Well, this has been the inaugural one.
Yeah.
So I was gonna answer that question. I was also going to say that we're still working on the format to some degree, and I think one problem that we're trying to think through and solve is the Q&A portion. So I think we have a lot of people that'll be looking at this kind of after the fact. And one kind of thought we had was kind of taking questions ahead of time and then answering them kind of at the end, and then also maybe having some chat participation there as well. So if you have any ideas, we're certainly open to them.
Yep. And that's on the
And you
the
can
dual
find our thread
boxing
on
forums.
dualboxing.com.
Yeah,
Yep,
and at
there
the
you
same
go,
time,
sorry.
like there will be some upcoming podcasts soonish, maybe into Shadowlands as well, that are more kind of like themed around things that we will talk about. So maybe something like a topic like dungeons specifically, where we give our thoughts on dungeons. That would, we can go dungeon by dungeon. That would take an extended period of time. We could do something like that, whatever it is, whatever theme we could pick along the way here, and so people will know ahead of time what we're going to be tackling. So if there are questions, people can ask those. They'll know what the topic is for the podcast rather than just general banter. So,
Yep. No, I like it. Looks like I was able to record the whole thing too.
Without your computer
Fantastic.
exploding.
Yeah. Next week.
You'll have a new computer this time next week, right?
Exactly. It depends if I get lucky on that new AMD. I have no patience though. I'm just gonna settle with the current gen if it gets sold out.
Oh yeah, if it gets sold out, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of the broke people running a 3900X, so.
Nice. That's what I'm aspiring to. So it should be good.
Yeah, it was the joke, and maybe it didn't land. Everybody's going like, God, this guy's a freaking asshole.
Well, I
No.
won't say what I'm running for sure. No, there'll be we got secret hardware in the mix. It's another G14 class.
Yeah. Mariah's gonna blow us out of the water. Literally, I'm sure there's water involved too.
there is. It's wet. It's definitely wet.
All right.
And just to let everyone know here before we close up, this will be available as a Twitch VOD on your channel. We're also going to take this and upload this to a YouTube channel somewhere, not my YouTube channel. I think we're going to have something attached to the actual community forum. There's going to be starting something there. There'll be links again in that thread on the Dual Dash Boxing forums when we get it up, when we figure that out for sure on where that's going. But there's no other platforms at this time that we're on. There will likely be something. Look, we're amateurs, okay? We're working through this. I was getting yelled at just the other day by Supernova, and
did he say do the podcast?
Mariah's out of resources.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes,
he just wants to show up. He can only show up. That's all he has time for.
I'm running on E. There's so much work to get done here in the next few weeks. It's ridiculous, and I hope we can deliver. There'll be some really sexy things across the board, but I can't say it. We're not going to start that hype train up. We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it in the depot right now. But if things get closer and things look really good, then we'll talk more about that for sure, without a doubt.
I'm excited. I know nothing, but I'm still excited. It sounds awesome. So we'll be here next Monday. 8:30 is the goal. And that's the schedule. Obviously, with the expansion coming out, we will try to do one on the 23rd as well. But our next one should be, it looks like the 9th. Is that correct? I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be on the 9th. And then we'll be on we'll probably be on release as well.
Okay. Yeah.
I know there's a week after the 9th. The
Yeah.
16th is the week before release, so we'll definitely be doing it on the 9th and 16th. And I think we were looking to talk about Covenants on the 16th, because hopefully a week before release they will have everything finalized. But that's not really guaranteed, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have these for like an hour, and you can tell we can burn through that hour super easy. So I'm not worried about content. We'll get that knocked out. So what's the official way to close this? Oh, and also make sure we give everybody like the links too. So like Mirai, if you want to shout out your channel, and Zoc yours as well on here.
Yeah. I don't have a Twitch. I don't specifically have a Twitch channel that I stream on, although I have both the Multiboxology Twitch user and the MIR4I, which I'm in the channel list there. If you bring up who's in the channel list on the stream right now. Even though I don't currently stream, there may be something in the future if I find the time and I'm able to do that in Shadowlands. We'll see. But otherwise, I'm much more of a record locally and then upload and cut things up and make it a little bit more exciting, put a little bit more effort into it in post and then upload it there. So my YouTube channel is, of course, the Multiboxology channel. Should be the only one, but I do own the URL, so it is actually just youtube.com/user/multiboxology, and you can find me right there.
Nice. What do you got, Zoc?
Yeah, so I go by Zoc90 on YouTube and Twitch because I really like having a 3-letter name, but apparently none of the websites like that. And I'm
is really
such an
tough.
uncreative person that I had to add my birth year. So yeah, I'm not 16, believe it or not.
90s kid. Oh, that's awesome. And if you're listening to us on a different platform, Multidayz is the Twitch TV Multidayz with a Z because the S was taken. So it's a Z. And then on YouTube, I don't have an official YouTube URL yet. Maybe one day down the road. Right now it's I don't know. It's something on there.
Oh, it's just a chain of alphanumerics.
Yeah,
right?
it's just crazy sauce at the moment. I think you have to hit a certain goal or whatnot.
Yeah, you
but
do,
when you rebrand, when you go from the other one to this one, it start from scratch. So do we want like a catchphrase or anything to call it good? No.
I got nothing. I'm
Okay.
just
That's
I'm just
all,
here.
partner.
I'm present and
There we
accounted
go.
for.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, we'll do this next week. This is fun though. I really like this. This is really awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure.
Awesome. Curtains.